She touched me. Things looked more barren to those left on the sanctuary, while the other fairies were in San Francisco. Rome readied the community house for a visit by Sandra, the British journalist. Mothra prepared for his mother's visit by obsessively sweeping the dirt floor of his room. Monk got ready for his retreat as he gathered a tent, a flashlight, his cosmic tribe tarot deck, matches, and a gallon of water and headed for the northeast corner of the Faerie Sanctuary. There he settled into his familiar sacred spot, a campsite surrounded by pinyon pine trees. In a black flash, 3 crows flew onto the path from their perch in the whitewashed, weathered pine tree. Right here, right here, right here. Like the chant of Gregorian monks, their message came from Great Spirit. The late afternoon sun painted pink feathery clouds along the western horizon as Monk made sure the tent door would face east. East, the direction of the rising sun. His studies in Native American spirituality taught him the most auspicious direction for an entrance was facing east. East symbolized the place of new beginnings. A screen flap in the back of the tent gave Monk a bird's eye view of the rocky path back to the community house. 200 feet away stood the standing stones, the astounding collection of boulders that looked like they could have been deposited by aliens. The curvy rocks appeared to have faces as big as some of the trees. The largest rocks on the land, the community of standing stones, seemed to erupt from the desert plain. The way the family of stones leaned on each other reminded Monk of his supportive fairy friends. Settling into his temporary home, Monk recalled the legend told by Kinkashila. There are caves on the land that are now inaccessible, Kinkashila explained during a walk through the fairy garden. My grandfather told me about the petroglyphs and relics hidden inside. After he passed away, we couldn't find the entrance to the cave. The cracks between the rocks were too small for a person to pass through. Kinkashila pointed toward the standing stones. The cave within is a sacred spot. Whatever lies hidden inside has remained a secret. Legend tells of an otherworldly deity who appeared and passed on knowledge that would assure the safekeeping of the land. Whether or not anyone ever gains entrance into the cave, your standing stones are an awesome gift. Any petroglyphs would be a valuable find. I'm sure they would tell us much about the history of the area. As they walked toward the stones, Monk drew some intuitive sketches into his small notebook. His favorite picture was of the moon paired up with a triangle with high heels and 3 hearts floating above. Maybe we can create our own set of rock paintings, Sars said. As a straight, but not narrow, Native American, it's difficult for me to tune into the same wavelength as you guys. Kinkashila pulled back his onyx black hair into a ponytail. Our tribe supports your connection to spirit, and your intention is heartfelt. Great Spirit blesses this land and offers assistance in whatever form it might take. On the 4th night of his retreat, Monk hiked to the community house and ate some cold 7 deadly sins casserole. The path was familiar. 100 breaths past the pygmy pine trees. 20 steps up the blue-gray boulder that glowed like a night light in the dark. The Milky Way was the brightest light in the sky as Monk climbed upon an apple-shaped standing stone for a time of reflection. Breathe in, breathe out. Monk allowed his attention to settle into being aware of his breath. Scattered flickers of light crossed the dark screen behind Monk's closed eyes. Undulating waves and vague impressions. Flashes, zoom-ins, and zoom-outs. Visions of hands that demonstrated the use of rocks as primitive tools. A faint, high-pitched chorus surfaced, all full of fluttering harmonic overtones. Then he heard the song lyric that sounded strangely familiar. Trust in spirit to give us what we need. That was the same words and tune Monk sang last month. Sonic tones rose up from the earth during his full moon walk in the labyrinth. It felt like they had entered his body through his feet. The pace of his walk kept time as the song came clear. We walk the land, plant our seeds, trust in spirit to give us what we need. In full lotus position, Monk let the music flow through him, and it guided his inner vision down into the cracks of the rocks. He felt his body dropping down, like it does when you descend in a high-speed elevator. A single flame flashed across the dark screen behind his closed eyes. The burgundy pinpoint glowed above an altar candle, and Monk concentrated his attention on the light. A symphony of sound crescendoed to include more and more voices. The tones grew into an otherworldly composition reminiscent of a futuristic orchestra. Discordant and atonal, it sounded like a lost Charles Ives symphony. The candle flame grew larger and transformed into a spotlight. In the scene, Monk flew high above an aged theater proscenium. Was this the same place shown in the movie Moulin Rouge? He was seeing the action perched on a flying scaffold. "Action!" shouted the Bohemian director, a thumbnail-sized figure who sat near the edge of the stage. Through the viewfinder, Monk spied a closed ruby-red sheer curtain that moved from wind churned by the old-fashioned wind machine. The song Moon River and the sound of applause signaled that it was time for the curtain to open. Monk moved the camera crane closer as a slinky, freakish figure cat walked up to the edge of the stage. The well-dressed woman dropped her white silk shawl, threw away her red heart sunglasses, and stepped out of her sequined skirt. So stunning and sexy was she that the crowd erupted in Austin Powers-inspired shouts of "Yeah, baby" that drowned out Moon River. She lifted her pink-gloved hand and gave 2 snaps up, then floated up in front of the proscenium, looking like she was part of the decorations. A tableau of Rococo gargoyles and gilded angels. Monk used the camera's zoom button to focus on the floating woman. Even when he stopped pressing the button, the picture continued to zoom in. Fully focused on the woman's left eye, the camera disappeared. Saint Anthrax sent Monk a big wet kiss. A deep, operatic baritone voice announced the arrival. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to extend a special welcome to our honored guest Monk. You've been blessed to witness a visitation of our controversial daughter of the Moon Mother." People call out for the answer. The answer is here, right now. Monk catapulted from his seat on the camera crane down into a non-obstructed orchestra seat. As the stage lights dimmed, a bright pink follow spot began to search the stage for the star of the show. Hear ye, said the announcer. "I'm blessed to present a saint for all times, a savioress for all seasons and all reasons. Here she is, the inscrutable love goddess, the Saint Anthrax." Monk blocked some details of the visitation from his conscience, but he couldn't forget how Saint Anthrax pushed herself right into Monk's face to face to those quivering heart-shaped lips that exploded like they had been shot up with Botox. The saint floated in front of the fairy and pressed her 2 full lips upon his third eye. What did she look like? Like you would imagine. Like she always does during an apparition or a visitation. Saint Anthrax was a spitting image of the picture on her official altar card. She moved so close to Monk that he wondered if she would move right through him. In yet another freaky transformation, Monk saw the sacred heart of Saint Anthrax. Her heart, full of love, flew out of her body and shape-shifted into a monitor, and the LCD screen broadcast faces of creatures known and not known. Morphed faces of loved ones, lost ones, the homeless, the fragile, the gifted. Faces with skin tones like an artist's palette. No color left unturned. Nothing left behind, and all brilliant reflections of the universal heart of hearts. He couldn't look at the images for long because the hardest things to view are the hidden treasures of the heart. So Monk's attention drifted away from the LCD screen as Saint Anthrax floated from center stage into the stage wings. She stood like a proud theater mom, waved to Monk in the audience, and the theater filled with the sense of heavily caked grease paint, the smell of fingernail polish, and the scent of rose and jasmine. In another blink of the eye, Monk was standing off stage next to the saint. 3 pairs of 96 cents only store false eyelashes weighed her eyelids down. When she blinked, it looked like it took a hell of a lot of effort. Nevertheless, Saint Anthrax repeatedly batted her eyes to create an illusion of futuristic butterflies. Eyebrows arched up. So way up high, the saint meticulously plucked any stray hairs to create a classic eyebrow line like a tribute to Cruella de Vil. Her heart-shaped lip marks needed to be painted with 3 layers of ultra-smooth ruby red lipstick. If any makeup trick showed off the inner Saint Anthrax, it had to be her lips. She spent 10 minutes, 3 times a day, to apply slick, shiny latex paint in the shape of a big red heart. Then took care of her teeth, to make sure the heart had a shiny, gooey white center. Saint Anthrax noticed that Monk was no longer present. At least not fully, because he tried to figure out how this saint got to be so stunning. To serve as a wake-up call, the saint belted out a gutsy Ethel Merman-esque greeting that was clothed in a laugh. Love, love, love. He opened his eyes, or at least thought they were open, yet he was still deep in a dream state. In an effort to come back to the here and now, Monk offered a Buddhist bow to the saint. Eyes wide shut, the saint's face drifted back to reconnect onto her body. She ran onto the stage to take a final bow, and the audience rose to give her a standing ovation. Pink-gloved hands waved in the air, palms up, to say,